Okay, so when you look at Oklahoma's putrid offense this season, Oklahoma fans have kind of turned to the offensive line and said, if that was just a little bit better, maybe the offense would be able to do more. And in the teleconference today with Brent Venables, if you guys don't follow George Stoya or Tom Green over there on Twitter, you need to make sure you're following them, because when Brent Venables does a pod or does a press conference, they usually have quotes ready to go. So you don't have to go back and listen to the full thing. You can kind of just get the spark notes of it, right? But one of the big takeaways from the teleconference today with Brent Venables was how he'd been talking about how they're going back and forth on redshirting Eddy Pierre Louis, and he didn't say whether they're going to do it or not. Now, Tom Green over at 247 Sports wrote a really great article on this, so I'm going to put that down in the description so that you guys can go read it. But today we got to talk about whether or not Oklahoma should burn the red shirt of Eddy Pierre Louis, basically make him a starter, or should Oklahoma continue to move with Fabici and Heath Ozaida at both guard spots and continue to give Eddy Pierre Louis a little bit more time to develop before he can really, battle for a starting position going into next season? Because a lot of Oklahoma fans right now, they're going to tell you we need to go to a youth movement. But let's go ahead, let's jump into it, join the discussion, and give me your guys' thoughts. So, Eddy Pierre Louis, when you guys saw him in high school, you saw him run a 12.67 100, right? Everybody saw the speed, the athleticism of Eddy Pierre Louis. The biggest problem was he was a summer enrollee. Like, Eddy Pierre Louis did not get on campus in January with a lot of the other 2024 class. So, of course, naturally, that's always going to set you behind. But Eddy Pierre Louis this season has really been making a lot of strides with the staff. And we even saw him in the Temple game for 9 snaps, where when you look at PFF and you look at the Pro Football Focus, he was one of the best, technically, blockers for Oklahoma in that time. Although, well, it was only 9 snaps. On a total of 6 run blocking snaps, he had a 66.3 grade, and on 3 passing block snaps, he had a 74.4. So for Oklahoma fans, they see those numbers and they say, wow, we need to get him on the field. He's one of the better guys. But remember, it's only 9 snaps. Because in what is it? Let me pull up the total offense snaps. For 482 snaps for Fabici Wewu, he has a 68.8 pass blocking grade and a 50.9 run block grade. So you can see when you start to play the amount of snaps like a Fabici Wewu has, obviously your numbers are probably going to dip unless you're just like a Jordan Seaton or a Caden Proctor out of Alabama. So again, I think the question is, and this is where I want to hear from y'all, should Eddy Pierre Louis be redshirted, or should Oklahoma kind of move to more of a youth movement and start him over? I would presume it's going to be a Heath Ozaida at left guard, because Fabici Wewu has been one of your best blockers on this season, according to Pro Football Focus. And so I wouldn't imagine you would be replacing Fabici at right guard with a true freshman in Eddy Pierre Louis, especially when Fabici has a chance to come back next season. And this is also another thing you have to think about. There's a good chance that with whatever offensive line you put out there for the rest of the season, you can have 4 out of the 5 or 5 out of the 5 returning starters for next season. So that's another thing you have to think about. You could return a full offensive line worth of starters, which we saw how valuable that could have been this season to Oklahoma. But regardless, when you go back and you watch Eddy Pierre Louis' high school film, you see the pancake blocks, right? You see the sheer size and strength of Eddy Pierre Louis being able to move defenders. Like, he is 6'3", 320 pounds right now. This dude is a monster, and being able to move the way that he's able to move, it's just absolutely freaky. So I've got the blocking grades pulled up right here for the offensive line, and this is where we really need to have a discussion, right? And this is where we really need to decide what we're going to do with Eddy Pierre Louis, right? So we're gonna kind of play it here ourselves, right? We're gonna act like we're the head coach, and we're gonna go down the list, and we're gonna look at not only their grades but availability, and say, okay, should we start him or should we sit him? And the first one's got to be Fabici Wewu at right guard, right? I would say you have to start Fabici Wewu. He's got the best pass blocking grade. He has room to improve in run block, but with the ability for him to return for his senior season next year, you Obviously, I think want to give Pier-Louis as much run as possible this season. And I think he just gives you the best chance to win at that right guard spot. So I would say we definitely need to pencil in Pier-Louis at right guard. Now, number 2 is Jacob Sexton. This one I think is going to be a little bit of a dilemma for a lot of folks. But I'm going to tell you, you need to start Jacob Sexton at left tackle. And here's why. Jacob Sexton, although he has a 45.1 pass blocking grade, a 58.4 run blocking grade, and a 55.7 overall offensive grade, Jacob Sexton has the potential to be a first-round talent. The problem is this season with getting Branson Hickman out of the portal, really not knowing the playbook, you had to put Jacob Sexton at left guard to kind of help Hickman with those play calls, and that's not his spot. So kind of switching him back and forth between tackle and guard has really affected him in his play this year, and I don't think that's the Jacob Sexton we're going to see next season because it's not the Jacob Sexton we've seen in the past. So I would say Jacob Sexton has to be penciled in at left tackle. Now, Michael Tarquin, this is the first starter that I think you probably sit. And I think Michael Tarquin would be a great backup swing tackle for you. But you're going to have an option to potentially go towards a youth movement with Isaiah Autry-Dent when he's healthy, or Jake Taylor at the right tackle position. Jake Taylor was one of the most coveted tackles coming out of high school. I think you got to go with Jake Taylor, but if you went with Isaiah Autry-Dent, I don't think that would be a bad place either because he could play 4 games this season before he has to redshirt. So I would say Jake Taylor. I could see your argument for Isaiah Autry-Dent, and that gives you your right tackle, your left tackle, your right guard. So now we got to look at center. Branson Hickman or Troy Everett. Branson Hickman can't return. Troy Everett can. I think that decision's pretty easy. Troy Everett in 100 snaps has been the best center. You got to go with Troy Everett. But this is where the question comes. The dilemma that Brent Venables and Bill Beanbow are having at left guard. Do you start Heath Ozida or do you start Eddy Pierre Louis? Eddy Pierre Louis can still play in 3 games this season before you have to really get down to, do we want to burn his red shirt or not? He's played in 1 game. He can play in 3 more. Heath Ozida, he's played in 200 snaps, and I mean, I think been a fairly decent pass blocking left guard for you at 71.8 and a run blocking grade of 56.9. I'm going to go against an unpopular opinion here. I think you need to go with Heath Ozida at least for the rest of the season. You can give Eddy Pierre Louis some run at guard, whether it's at right guard or left guard, in terms of like a swing guard role, in terms of like if somebody needs to come off the field for a break. But I think in order to give you the best chance to win and the best chance to have returning starters next season, you have to probably go with Heath Ozida at that left guard position. So I need to hear from y'all. Make sure you guys join the discussion. Jump down in the comments below. Give me your thoughts. Should Brent Venables and Bill Beanbow burn the red shirt of Eddy Pierre Louis, or should they go towards more of a youth movement and get him out on the field? It's up to y'all. Let me know what you guys think. Hit that like and hit that subscribe button.